You're a cantaloupe.
5 long years he wore this watch. Up his ass.
These are my cactuses. I put googly eyes on them.
Sometimes when I'm driving, I have this sudden impulse to turn the wheel quickly, head on into the oncoming car.
Peter Pan has found a mother.
You want me to say what? Like, I don't get it. Is that it?
The ice is gonna break!
All right. Welcome back to another episode of Walken 101, the podcast where we watch every Christopher Walken project in chronological order. That could be movie, TV show, play, whatever we can get our hands on. I'm Kenny Johnson, documentary filmmaker, editor. Just started drinking coffee. I've never really drank coffee up until about like a year ago, and I've become a really big fan of it. That's like my new thing now. I love coffee.
That's good.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm so out of it from watching this movie. I'm Brandon Hardesty, actor, video maker, and I was just thinking about this today. A public service announcement. I think it's no longer funny to shout "Run, Forrest, run" when you see somebody running. And if you do it, you're not clever. It's not. I'm just
it
putting
is like
that
almost
out there.
a 30-year-old joke at this point.
Yeah, it's like it was maybe funny in middle school, but I don't know.
Who still says that? Have you encountered someone who's?
This was like a few months ago. I was when I was taking classes and.
Someone running across the campus.
And somebody shouted, "Run, Forrest, run!" And I thought, are we still doing this? Really? After almost 20 years, are we still saying, "Run, Forrest, run"?
I'm pretty sure that guy, like, his favorite comedy is like old school, and like he definitely has camouflaged something in his wardrobe collection, and it's not like it's like a hat or something weird. All right, so today, what did we watch today? It was fucking miserable. I will start off by saying that. Terrible movie. What was it called? Shoot Down the Sun?
I don't know what the fuck it was. Yeah, Shoot the Sun Down.
Shoot the Sun Down.
This is the worst thing we've watched. This is worse than I knew more about what was going on with the experimental hybrid documentary Me and My Brother.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that more. This was really, really bad.
It was 1978 Western film. I wouldn't even call it that. It was a drama that was set in the Western world.
Sure.
Directed by David Leeds. This is his only movie that he has written, directed, produced. This is it. One credit, one and done.
Yep. And up until I think like 4 years ago, it was only available on VHS, and then there was a DVD and Blu-ray released.
Yeah, but I guess before we get too far into this shit fest, this dumpster fire of a movie that we forced upon ourselves, we'll do our segment, a walking in our shoes. Catch up with us. What have we been up to since our last record?
Well, actually, you know what? Before we walk in our shoes, we should do some shout-outs.
Shout-outs.
Yeah,
Can't forget the shout-outs. This is important.
Exactly. We have 4 patrons so far. 2 of them are $5 or more. Thank you, Doug Heavener.
Dougie boy. Our first dude.
He was our first patron. And
Right.
then we got a new one this week. His name is Tom Byrne. I believe that's his last name. Byrne.
You are burning your money. Giving it to this podcast. But we say sorry and thank you at the same time.
Yes.
So,
thank you very much. And thank you to
guys.
all of our patrons. So yeah, I guess what's the biggest thing with me, see, we were off for a week.
yes.
And I spent 4 really miserable days. I mean, it was, it's good and exhausting moving into my new house with my wife. We were just moving. We got a lot of little stuff and packed my parents' Jeeps up, and then we had the big stuff in the U-Haul. It was just me and one other friend of mine, and it was exhausting. So that's pretty much what's been going on. And now now you've been living with your fiance for a while. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure you've experienced this where you've moved everything in, but it's never really done.
It's never really done. It's almost 2 years later, and we still have there'll be 1 or 2 small boxes kind of set aside, and it's stupid stuff. It's this stereo that somebody, I think my friend Eric gave to me, and I just haven't had time to either unpack it or just set it up. So it's just become a box in our living room that we put other stuff on. So the box has become a part of the living room now. You know?
Yeah. It's just furniture. Yeah, and that's what's going on here. Especially there's still things that we thought we got everything, but there are things left over. Like, oh, that's right, my mom has a pan that she wants to give us, and her mom has a. We have some more things we forgot in this closet. So it's overwhelming, but it's fun. It's a fun thing to share.
Yeah, it's your place.
Yeah, it's our place.
And it's gonna take. It always takes time because you'll find so much stuff of just be like, okay, I gotta do this and that. And you guys are both working individuals. You have your own thing, so it's like sometimes you want to do that stuff and not really worry about your house because it just takes forever.
I still got some IKEA stuff to build as soon as we're done this. So what's going on with you?
Well, okay, so yesterday I texted you. I said I got to go to Philly. I had to run up to Philly real quick to do to shoot a quick interview for a wrestler for this company that I make documentaries for, Evolve Wrestling, and I had to go up to Philly because he there's some things he might be leaving soon. He might be doing this and that. I can't really go into exact details of it, but we through scheduling and all these other things, like yesterday was the only time we could do it. And I'm like, all right, we got to do it because he's leaving for Toronto. He's flying out at 5 p.m. that day. So I'm like, I got to get to you before then so we can shoot this quick interview. I can put it in this documentary and that'll be done. Mm-hmm. Really quick, really easy. Philly from here is not far. It's only about a little over 90 minutes. Straight shot. He lives right in the city. He was available that day. And he's like, yeah, just come on over. We'll shoot it. It takes 20, 30 minutes. So I get there, right? Drive right into Philly. And I am less than a half a mile away from his apartment. I can see the apartment. It's just I got to go down this road and that's it.
Yeah.
And then I see people walking around with medals. And they have, the blankets that you put around yourself after you go through a really long run. And I'm like, what the fuck is this? And sure enough, there's a gigantic race happening in Philly. And the starting line is right at the street that I need to get across to the apartment. And thankfully, Philly has a lot of free parking, so I'm driving around. I'm just going to park and I'll just walk. Every single spot is taken up because of the race, because everybody in the world is in the city right now running in this thing. I finally find parking. I have to walk across now, like a couple of blocks to his apartment. And it's races now. It's such a tight security. There's a fence that cuts off half of the city, and I have to walk along this fence, go into the entry point. I have camera bags with me. They got to check all the camera bags.
Now, wait, what time? This was, so it was on a Saturday.
On a Saturday, yeah.
This really, I never realized how much something like that would disrupt a city.
Why do it?
Why do it?
Why? It cuts off half the city. And I could not get over to his apartment. I was a block away. I just could not get my car across there because the race cuts the whole city in half.
Yeah.
So I go through the security and all this stuff, and now I have to actually get through the race.
Yeah.
And I talked to a police officer. I'm like, is there an easy way? I need to get to Philadelphia Avenue, or I think it was Pennsylvania Avenue. I got to get there. Well, you just have to cut across the race. And I look over, and there's thousands of people. Like, it just started. And I'm like, are you kidding me? So I find an opening between the barricades, and I run down a little bit, and then I run in the actual race. I run in the race, I kind of maneuver through, and then get to the other side of the opening, and then I'm there.
Nice. You're carrying all your equipment?
Carrying all the equipment, running with people. I probably screwed up their times, all this stuff. In that whole thing, it took me over an hour just to go like 2-3 blocks.
You found a way to do it, though.
I found a way to do it.
It's something I tell you all the time that I admire about you, how hardworking you are, and you will find a way.
I ran in this race.
Yes, you did.
I ran in the race to get the interview.
You just like our one teacher we had,
Gary Wheeler.
Cut
the lock.
He told this story about how he was on a shoot, and they were supposed to be using a warehouse.
Yep. They had permission and everything.
But then they get there at night and it's locked. So what they do, they cut the lock, and it's like a metaphor for when you just have to fucking get something done.
You fucking cut the lock.
Cut the lock, baby. That was like his creed.
He used that in everyday life, even illegally. When it says I'm not supposed to be there, I'm gonna cut the shit out of that lock.
Yep.
All right, so let's get into it. Let's just go right into this train wreck dumpster fire, the shit show This fucking movie, man. This fucking movie. I'm not gonna lie. About like midway, I was maybe 45 minutes into it. This is an hour and a half movie. 45 minutes into it, I just kind of stopped paying attention. I started taking pictures of us watching it in miserable fashion. You were laying on the floor at one point.
I'm gonna start bringing a pillow when I can maybe anticipate if it's gonna be a bad movie. Because when it's almost like I can't physically sit. I need to just lay on the. I need to let gravity just take me. I need to submit. It's like giving up.
You just give up.
And I'm still watching it, but
you did more than I did. I was not fucking paying attention. I was posting things on Facebook. I posted things like, "This movie is horrible."
Yeah.
Just people are gonna be like, "What movie?" Yeah, you don't want to know.
It's like out of nowhere, you're just angry about a movie that was made in 1976. Just rage out of nowhere.
David Leeds' powerful motion picture adventure that will become a Western classic in its own time. Shoot the Sun Down.
The plot.
I don't know.
We don't. Okay. It opens, right?
Okay.
Opens with Walken. He's on a horse.
Right. And I guess if we want to give people like a quick image, he looks like Clint Eastwood. It seems at first maybe it's kind of a Good, the Bad, and the Ugly knockoff.
Yeah. There's a lot of storylines happening, and they're all going to come crashing together at one point, right? That's what it kind of seemed like.
And he's like this mysterious badass, I guess.
Yes, mysterious badass with a tortured past.
Yes. So it's
all of this is like intriguing in the first couple scenes. I'm like, okay, this is kind of cool, but then it does not fucking connect at all.
Yeah.
At all. Okay, so there's 3 or 4 different storylines kind of happening at first year. We got Walken. He's riding up on a horse. Some dudes kind of jump him, and then he shoots them all, and he's cool and awesome looking.
Yeah.
Then you got Margot Kidder, who's playing this British woman, fancy British woman, and she's like with this captain of a ship, I guess. And they're out in the desert, wandering around. And then this other dude, played by, I think his name was Jeffrey Lewis. He's done a lot of westerns and stuff. He played a scalper or some type of like trader, hunter dude. He's kind of like a sketchy dude, right? And he's they get together. I think the scalper dude kind of kidnaps the captain and Margot Kidder at one point, and then Walken shows up, and Margot Kidder's like, "Can you please help me? I need to get to New Orleans. You're a hero, right?" And this is when it's just like I was in and out, kind of paying attention.
Yeah.
And the easiest thing for us to do is to just cheat and go and look on Wikipedia and get the synopsis there. Okay.
Yep. All right. Yeah.
Here, I'm gonna read. I'm gonna read it.
Okay.
I'm gonna read this. In the late 1830s, when much of the Old West was still Mexican territory. Okay. 4 people are traveling through the desert. This is 4 people I was talking about. We got Jeffrey Lewis, the scalp hunter, Walken, the mysterious badass, crazy ass Margot Kidder, and the captain. Okay.
All right.
North of Texas on a 3-day ride from Santa Fe. The scalp hunter, like I said, he is in search of gold.
Okay.
The others are former captain Bo Brendan, I believe. Brundon, also in search of gold. A woman from England, Margot Kidder. She's a former chambermaid. We find out that she was sold into chambermaidism when she was very young by her family. And so she's a former chambermaid. In exchange for ship's passage to America, has signed an agreement to serve captain for 5 years as an indentured servant. So she's like
a slave.
She's like a slave. And then you have Mr. Rainbow, played by Christopher Walken, a former soldier who killed Indians. Okay, so he's got a mysterious past.
Yeah.
But he's a hero, right? Because during this one scene, they're at this bar and everything, and this Native American guy is playing dice with other people, and he gets caught cheating. And so Walken, doing the good, he's a good dude. He helps save the Indian from basically getting killed. And how does he do it? He throws a fucking knife.
Yeah.
He's like, knife throw, And you're like, what the fuck? Why don't you shoot him or do something else or whip? I don't fucking know. Throw a knife. He throws
like
a knife.
his thing. He throws these knives.
Throws the knives. Okay, so the captain sets out to find, I believe it's Montezuma gold.
Okay.
Risking danger from Native Americans and Mexican soldiers, the woman wants out of her contract with the captain to go to New Orleans. That's what I mentioned before. So she kind of says, Mr. Rainbow, I saw what you did at the bar. Can you please help me? But he turns her down. Eventually, the scalp hunter wants half of the captain's gold, and he tags along with the men. So it's like the scalp hunter, he's like, oh, I know what these guys are going to find some gold. I'm going to tag along with them. I'm going to fuck them over. I'm going to do whatever I want. I'm going to take the gold for myself, you know.
As you're talking, I'm phasing in and out, just hearing this.
So we were like literally in and out of this movie. There would be parts where I would like kind of wake up and there'd be like a random fight scene all of a sudden, and then there'd be a scene where Walken is talking with some of the other characters, and they're all talking about like they're just giving monologues of their backstory.
Yeah.
And it doesn't add up, and I'm like, I don't care about any of this.
Well, we paid more attention in the beginning.
Yes.
I think one thing I remember is that they were really trying to establish that Christopher Walken is the dude that we're supposed to like.
Yeah.
Like, because if anybody's ever read or heard of the book Save the Cat, which is a book about screenwriting, it refers to a point in a movie where the hero does something good, like save a cat out of a tree.
Right.
To get the audience on his side. So in the beginning, Walken, he saves the Native American from being killed after he cheated. So already you like him. And then they have another scene where Walken walks into a barn and he pets a horse and he feeds the horse.
It's his horse, and he missed it.
He missed his horse.
And I'm like, what the fuck?
So he's an animal lover. So we really, really like him. But it was a
Right.
redundant scene. And then there was a falcon in there with a mask on, and he just took the mask off the falcon, but it wasn't his falcon.
But they had a personal connection at one point. They did.
Did
the Falcon looked at him, and then Walken looked back at him. And you're like, okay. They're gonna shoot down the sun together.
Yep,
that's what they're
absolutely.
gonna do.
And it just went. It was. I remember it in a haze, and we just watched it. It's really bad. It's really confusing. There was one scene where I was really excited. I was going to start paying attention because Walken is left for dead by our villain,
Jeffrey Lewis, scalp hunter, who's kind of like Tom Hardy from The Revenant.
Yeah, definitely.
Kind of looks like that dude.
So Walken he's tied out on the rocks, left in the sun to die, and vultures come and they attack him. And before we got to this scene, I knew that it was coming because I read. We'll get to this later in a little bit, but there's an interview with this director, the writer-director of this film. They're talking about a scene with vultures, and he said that the vultures implied that they weren't tamed very well, but Walken didn't care. He was just like, let's just fucking do it.
Right.
So I was expecting to see some really unsafe animal handling, and Walken looking genuinely frightened. But it was so brief. It was like 3 seconds of a vulture, and he went, ah! And then that was it. So there was that little bit of excitement. There was a scene where two guys have their shirts off at one point.
I tuned back in for that. I'm like, what's going on here? The whole time was just Jeffrey Lewis just being like, I'm up to no good.
Yeah.
Hey, Mr. Rainbow, you're going to come along. You're going to help me out. Oh, you're not going to help me out? I'm going to strap you to this fucking mountain and vultures are going to eat you. Oh, my crew's going to do this and that. I'll shoot him and kill him. I don't care. I want this gold. Captain and fucking Margot Kidder, you're going to lead me to the gold. And then Walken and Margot Kidder fall in love. Mm-hmm. They have a little sex scene.
Yep. Well, yeah, sort of.
Yeah, sort of.
It's the beginning of a sex scene.
So, yes, it was very much... Like I said, it seemed like a drama kind of set in the West. Every once in a while, they'd be like, okay, we got to have an action scene where there's going to be some Indians, we're going to shoot them, and then there's going to be an explosion and stuff. And then we'll go back to just fucking talking. Mm-hmm. And you're like, where are we going with this? What's happening?
Yeah.
So let's talk about Walken himself, because he was in this movie a lot. And
Thank you, Mr.
Kind of hurt him.
Mr. Rainbow. Very well, Mr. Rainbow. I'm in need of your services.
What would you have me do?
Well, the only gentlemanly thing to do is escort me back to New Orleans. Naturally, you'll be well paid.
Thank you for the offer, miss, but I don't think you're telling me the truth.
Oh, then you're a soldier. You must have won many ribbons, Mr. Rainbow.
I won nothing. It wasn't that kind of army. We were slaughtering Indians, so I left.
I will not believe a man of your character a deserter.
I didn't see it that way either.
I think we've watched enough projects and read enough about him that I think Walken gives it his all in every role that he does. I don't think he's ever phoned it in. I have yet to see evidence of that. He may have taken movies because they were like a big payday or something, but I think he always fully commits to something because the guy. Let me find it. So the director of this film, David Leeds.
Yes. Yep.
He's talking. One second. Let me put my glasses on. And find this interview in front of me. Excuse me. The director was impressed with him playing his character. Sorry, I'm so I'm like in a haze after watching this movie. I feel drunk. So the director says he approached the character from an interior point of view and stayed focused on that. When Chris was staked out, for example, he did a good job of going in and out of delirious fragments, which applied to the character, situation, conditions, and so on. It was totally improvised, and it is something I find in films not that easy to do convincingly. Chris's instincts for things like that, and in general, are exceptional. I think he nailed the combination of alienation and engagement I had in mind terrifically. So that was according to the director. But what we saw... It was not very... I think it's the bad writing, honestly.
I don't know if it was bad writing, direction, who knows? Because I really feel like you can get even a bad performance out of like great actors. Walken's a great example here.
Yeah.
So his character plays, like we were saying, this mysterious badass, okay? In a Western. But he's all clean shaven. He's good looking. He still has that New York accent.
He can't shed it.
I can't shed it. Now, originally, this Mr. Rainbow character was going to wear rainbow-colored glasses that were apparently historically accurate.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. And I wish he would have done that.
The movie would have been much better.
Right. So it felt like, okay, this was made in 78.
76, I think it was shot, and it took 2 years to find distribution.
Shocker.
Morning. Buenos dias. You have come far.
San Francisco.
Ah, San Francisco. Is it true the Californianos are seeking their independence from Mexico?
They're not strong enough yet, but the time will come.
And how long will I have the honor of keeping this fine animal here?
2, maybe 3 days. How much?
$1 a day, senor.
That's awfully high.
But these federales would rather be rich than be respected.
He didn't look the part of the action hero, and that's what they kept trying to make him be.
Yeah.
And it seemed kind of awkward at times. He seemed kind of awkward on the horse. He seemed a little awkward kind of shooting and stuff. Mm-hmm. He in his kind of first scene with Kidder, I really liked it because he was that mysterious. He had that quiet intensity to him.
Yeah.
He delivers the lines with this certain calmness, and it's just like this laser sharp intensity, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, this character's really interesting. I want to get to know him. And then the more we did get to know about him, because he's in almost every other scene, I was like, I don't really care anymore.
Yeah.
It just didn't work. The mysterious Walkenism was gone, and it just seemed like it was him trying to play a badass at times. It just felt awkward. Very awkward to watch.
No, there was no. I've been watching Westworld recently. Have you been watching
fantastic.
it? It's
fantastic
so
show, right?
And I've been thinking a lot about how it really there's a lot to be said about writing in it, and how when they write the dialogue and the backstories for the hosts in Westworld, and there was the one character, the lead Teddy.
Yeah,
and
James Marsden.
And he had this mysterious backstory, and when what's his name, Anthony Hopkins, he's creating his new narrative, and he sits Teddy down and he goes, yes, your mysterious backstory. You know why it's so mysterious? Because we never bothered to write you one. It was just this vague guilt,
and that's exactly what this was.
Yeah,
Walken was in the army. He abandoned he didn't want to do it anymore because in the army he killed Indians. Mm-hmm. That was it.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, I kind of see a little bit of the guilt there. I kind of see the little bit of, he's angry, he's upset about that. But then it's so vague that you're like, well, what the fuck does that mean?
Yeah.
And then other characters had that same sense where you would have they would sit there and deliver these monologues about their past. Margot Kidder did the same type of thing, talking about being sold into essentially slavery. And you're like, okay, that's kind of interesting. Hers was a little bit more fleshed out. It felt like at times. And but I still just didn't care enough about her because Margaret Kidder's fucking crazy.
And she had this really over the top British accent,
so over the top at times,
to the point where where you thought,
yes,
she's playing this over the top because her character is pretending to be British, and
Correct.
it's going to be revealed later on that it was all an act. But no,
that was it.
It was just bad acting.
It was just kind of bad acting at times. But she had a great scene where she delivered this monologue about when she was being sold into slavery. And I'm like, that's bad. Really good. Why couldn't we get more of that?
Yeah.
Sorry.
No.
So getting back to his character, right? Whole he was almost supposed to be like, I guess, this rebellious counterculture thing of the 70s. He rebelled against the army. He's supposed to kind of,
he saved the day with weed at the end.
He did.
Where he put a little bit, I didn't know what it was at first, but it turns out later, it was like some kind of weed that he put in the water pouch of the
bad guys team,
the soldiers, and then they were all passed out. I don't know if it actually made them so high that it killed them or something.
I don't know if it was actual marijuana. It was some type of hallucinogen, some type of drug. We don't know what it was, but it was a drug.
Yeah.
So it was like, I'm gonna fight the man with drugs.
Got a problem with that?
Right. So
fuck you, society.
Right. Yep.
Maybe. I don't know if that was the intention. And if we want to go back to, so you mentioned that Christopher Walken looked uncomfortable on the horse and with the guns.
Okay.
There's a part where this guy interviewing the director said, Christopher Walken has mentioned on various occasions that he doesn't like horses, the sun, and guns. Did he have any particular problems with any of these things while shooting the film? And then the director said, Chris was at that time totally a creature of New York.
Yeah.
I had in fact arranged for riding lessons for him in Central Park and sent him a shootable version of the Colt Patterson repeater, asking him to practice taking it apart and putting it together, and had arranged a place where he could fire it. I also asked him to grow his hair a bit and not shave for a week before filming, and we'd figure out the best look when he got to location. Let's put it this way. The Wrangler said he'd never been on a horse, the gun was unfired, and his hair was short, normal for him. It's fair to say that he didn't like horses, guns, or the sun. What he did have, however, was an early form of that intense, hard-to-read, off-rhythm syncopation that has come to be so much him. I don't think he'd spent much time out of doors, certainly not in the wilderness, but part of what's so compelling and interesting about his performance is all these tensions, which definitely, in the end, served the character well. I'm going to respectfully disagree with the director for
yeah. And this may have been a one where he phoned this one in. I'm gonna say that he maybe phoned this performance in a little bit. There's flashes of goodness, but it just seemed like other parts he was just like, I get to play cowboy today.
Maybe. And also, what I thought was really funny was the guy who interviewed the director about how Christopher Walken doesn't like horses and the sun and guns.
Yeah.
He cited these interviews where Walken has said that. I believe this was on the special features of Sleepy Hollow. Mm-hmm. Concerning horses, Walken comments, I come from New York City. I grew up right in Midtown. I don't know anything about horses. I've made some westerns, but my experience with horses has not been good. I'm afraid of them, and they don't like me much. As for the sun...
Does not like the sun. Little factoid. Just remember that.
Walken remarks, I hardly ever go in the sun. I don't like it because it hurts. And then...
Oh, my God.
Then he says, I've heard him talk about guns. I think he probably said something along the lines of this on his Inside the Actor Studio. Yes. Where he said, Walken also notes his dislike of guns. Whenever I hold a gun, I want to get it out of my hand as quick as possible. So yeah, he doesn't like
like guns.
And I get I get why he doesn't like horses. I had to ride a horse for the Scorpion King 4 Quest for Power. And so we're like shooting in Romania, and I'd never been on a horse before. And apparently on movie sets, if you have a horse, they really should be gelded. They shouldn't have their nuts anymore.
No balls.
The horse that I was training on, which by the way, the trainer was the stunt double for Khal Drogo in Game of Thrones, and he even had the long hair. He stunt doubled for the Scorpion King too, because he still had the long hair and braids and shit. Right. I did like 2 or 3 training sessions, and I couldn't get past the second speed because the horse started to feel me. Like the horse knew it could fuck with me because I didn't take control of the horse. And I think the guy mentioned at some point that he sort of had to retrain the horse now because I showed the horse that
fucked it up.
I gave the horse a little too much room, you know, like the horse knew that. Wait a minute, I can rebel.
Right.
I guess. So then we had this scene where the scene where I was going to be on the horse, where it was just me and all the villains, I guess, and we're riding towards the camera in a big horde, all of our horses running full speed. And I was so glad I wasn't on the horse because I had a stunt double. And of course, I was bigger at the time, so the guy was just like a thin dude. Someone stuffed a pillow under his shirt, as if he were like 8 years old and wanted to look fat. Like, oh, they put him on the horse, and the horse I watched twice in a row. That horse threw him twice, 2 scenes, and then like the one scene where I'm actually on the horse, I couldn't even control it. They had to have the trainer underneath the camera holding the horse down, and I just needed to deliver. I had to deliver one line. As I'm walking, stop the horse, and then we got it in one shot, and I got off that fucking thing. The horses are scary as shit to me now.
It's got to be just so hard to work with them in any type of movie setting, and animals in general, because you have no control over them. You don't know what they're going to do. Yeah. You know? I
mean, especially, and that's why if the horses still have their nuts, they're harder to control, apparently. The one guy, there was one guy I worked with, the director's brother, who had a part in it. He found the one horse that didn't have his nuts, and he's like, I want that one.
Smart.
Yeah, he was experienced with horses.
Right.
So yeah, that was Shoot the Sun Down.
Shoot the sun down. Shoot this fucking movie down. Don't ever show it. Don't watch this one.
Don't watch this one.
Watch this one so you can experience the torture with us.
Yeah. And I guess if we want to change subjects, we could go into our bit here. What do we call it? Secondhand Walken.
Secondhand Walken.
Where we just read a story.
Random story.
A random Christopher Walken story, someone who's worked with him. Because there are all these stories out there. And,
we don't know what's true. This could be completely false.
Yeah, I think this one, there are a number of them that I think are false, that have been exaggerated. This one, I think, has a lot of truth rooted in it. I've heard it. So Dana Carvey and Mike Myers have both told this story, and it's slightly different the way they told it. But this is from the book Gasping for Airtime, 2 Years in the Trenches of Saturday Night Live by Jay Moore. Okay, sorry.
What was it called? Grasping for Airtime?
Grasping for Airtime. So he's one of the... I guess the title implies he was really fought for...
Yeah, I know. He's Jay Moore. Anyway.
So he says... he's talking about when hosts would come to Saturday Night Live, and they would ask them if... they would sit at the round table at the beginning of the week, and they'd say, all right, do you have any ideas for sketches? So Jay Moore says, Mike Myers once told me a story about Christopher Walken pitching ideas. As the pitches went around the room, Walken sat stone-faced with an almost angry expression. Idea after idea hit the floor like a bowling ball. Walken didn't budge. After everyone in the room had finished, Lauren asked Walken if he had any ideas of his own. Walken paused to gather his thoughts. Bear suits are funny. Ape suits as well, he said. So there's that. And the way Dana Carvey told it was bear suits are funny and bears as well. So
just bears in general?
Just bears
the animal.
in general are funny, the animal. That's the one that I think people are more familiar with. Is
interesting.
So I think there's some truth in that. That's coming straight from people who were there
So I'm curious, whatever show that was, because he's been on Saturday Night Live several times.
Yeah.
Which, was there a bear suit on that episode?
I don't know. That might have been, maybe that was like the first time they got Walken to host, because and they didn't know what to expect.
Interesting.
They'd never met him before. Maybe. I don't know.
We'll have to go back and see if any episode of Saturday Night Live, if a bear suit appears,
Yeah.
then maybe that story's true.
Maybe. Or maybe maybe he said that and they all laughed.
They all laughed and then,
yeah.
And then they didn't do anything about it.
They didn't do anything.
Fuck bear suits. Okay, so what's next on the list? What's our next movie? It's a big one. It's a big one.
The next movie is probably the biggest one in our Christopher Walken journey here, The Deer Hunter.
The Deer Hunter.
I've seen the first half of it a long time ago, and I don't remember a lot of it. I know it has to do with Vietnam.
It does.
And I know that he won an Oscar for it. I also know it's spoiled for me. I know that he dies. I don't know how.
Okay.
Pretty sure it's a gun. Pretty sure he shoots himself.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. That's exactly what happens.
But I don't. But I want to know. It'll be kind of Tarantino'd for me. I saw the end, but I want to see how we get there.
Okay, yeah. I mean, it's depending on which one. I think we're going to watch it's like a 3-hour movie.
Oh wow!
It's 3 hours. It's done very interestingly. Pretty much like the first hour is them before they go to Vietnam, then the following hour is them at Vietnam, and the last hour is the hour of them. Last hour is them home after Vietnam.
Interesting. Okay.
So it's got, of course, Robert De Niro.
Is it Meryl Streep? Is it? I think.
Yes, Meryl Streep's in it. What's his name? John
Cazale.
Yeah.
Yeah,
he's in
John
it.
Cazale. Have you ever watched the dog? Now, I haven't seen it. I still want to see it, but I think it's called. What was it? I Knew It Was You. It's a documentary about John Cazale. He was in 5 movies.
Yeah,
all of them nominated for Best Picture.
Yeah, he was on a hot streak, and then he died really young.
Yeah,
so it's crazy because he was in Godfather.
Yeah.
1 and 2, I believe.
Yep, 1 and 2.
And then Dog Day Afternoon, Deer Hunter, and then I don't know.
I think The Conversation.
The Conversation, yep. And it was all like
that guy. Yeah.
And he was great in every one of those roles.
He was great. Man, I really want to watch Dog Day Afternoon again.
Yeah.
I love him in that.
So, that's the next one. It's a big one.
Yep.
It's the biggest one.
Deer Hunter, baby. Well...
So I guess that about
I feel drained.
I'm
so
it's almost noon here and I'm ready to go back to bed.
Yeah.
And
much.
I had my coffee, which I mentioned earlier. I'm a big coffee fan now. Mm-hmm. Had it. Did shit for me for this movie.
And when the Deer Hunter's 3 hours long.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we should. Do you just want to cover my house like the next time we watch?
Maybe we can do that.
We'll watch it there and then just get a bite to eat and then come here because it'll be like really long.
It is very long, and I bet you we may even have to do like a little intermission for like 20-30 minutes, just get up and walk around or do something.
Oh yeah,
it's definitely one of those movies where you got to take the day. I feel like. Because it's also like a pretty intense movie. It's pretty emotionally draining because they get captured and they're in a Vietnamese camp essentially.
Yeah.
And then they come back and they're fucked up. Like they're not doing good.
Yeah.
So it's an intense movie, and
I'm so looking forward to seeing it.
It's long. It's definitely long. So I'm looking forward to it too. It's been years since I've watched it. And I want to see what my interpretation of it is today. All right, so that about does it for this week's episode. We'll go right into my little canned outro here.
Yeah.
All right. Very special thank you to Render Perfect Productions for lending us some basic equipment to make and record this podcast. Here's a little plug for them. Render Perfect Productions is an award-winning Baltimore-based video production and video marketing agency specializing in creating engaging visual content and interactive user experiences. For more info, go to myrender.com. Kind of like our first sponsors. for this this podcast. We have patrons now. We got 2 great patrons. Thank you once again for donating to this podcast.
4 patrons.
4 patrons. Yes, 4 patrons. Yes, sorry. Yes, if you want to be a patron, visit patron.com/Walken101. We got a bunch of great rewards. Anything you can do to help out is greatly appreciated. Check out our website, Walken101.com, for more info and updates. Make sure you subscribe to us on iTunes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And if you like what you hear, give us a good rating.
Yeah. Ratings are super important. They definitely help us.
Mm-hmm.
Check out our Facebook page, facebook.com/Walken101. Like us. You know, if you got any interesting pictures, stories, whatever.
Yeah.
Let us know. Post on the Facebook page. Just like we were saying earlier, we had that Secondhand Walken story. If you got an interesting one, please let us know. Even if it's completely false, we don't care. We're going to spread the rumors.
Don't you have one?
Yeah, we'll have to do it. We'll have to save it for another time.
Yeah. We'll save that for maybe the next episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.